Hey, this is Brianna Woodson, and this is my presentation for my philosophy of education. Let's get into it. Okay, so this is an overview of what we're going to be looking at today. These are the different topics. First of all, access to education with a discussion of adaptations for students. I'll be discussing my interview with a field expert. The biopsychosocial aspect with strategies for addressing behavior issues in the classroom. My personal philosophy of work/education, as well as the personality assessment I took with an emphasis on leadership. All right, access to education. I put in parentheses accessibility of education. So, our first assignment was to reflect on a classroom environment that we have been in slash have been in. And I was able to reflect on a classroom that I was in last semester. And it kind of put things into a bit of a perspective for me. So these are a couple points that stood out to me. First of all, was the purpose of the educator, as well as having an appropriate perspective. So in college, unfortunately, I have encountered some professors who it seems as if it is their life mission to make things difficult for their students. And for some reason, they get like an ego boost out of students who fail their classes. However, I think when you have the appropriate mindset of what it is to be an educator, it you will come to the conclusion that you are working for your students. And at least for me, my goal is to be there for my students, help them in the classroom and in their time, whether that's in college or in high school, to be able to succeed in my classroom. And so, if that is my purpose as the educator, then some things that will follow suit are being flexible and adaptable. There's so many things that I encounter that I have not been taught in school. And that means I have to be flexible and adaptable and also be mindful of the place that I'm in, the students who are in my class. How can I pivot and shift to get back on track, yet still be aware of what is going on? So, access to education. And then moving on to lessons from my interview, I was able to interview my absolute favorite professor in college. He was a mentor, a friend, Dr. Morgan. I worked with him as a TA and just shadowing him in his classes. It's fantastic. I love being able to just sit down with him though and be able to write down some of the things that I had learned as well as some of the things that he just wanted to share. So, first of all, working with and for your students, and this is something that Dr. Morgan has always modeled so well, is his aim is to make things as easy as possible, yet still ensuring that his students receive a quality education. And part of the things that, or some of the things that he does to ensure that is having clear expectations. And sometimes that means going the extra mile and printing out a handout as well, giving the instructions orally as well as doing them and modeling them in class. But these are just the extra steps that he has done to help his students be able to get the most out of his classes. And I mean, there's so many other instances, but that was one of my favorite that I took away from it. The biopsychosocial aspect with strategies for addressing behavior issues. This was an interesting assignment. I'd never done anything like it, but I absolutely enjoyed it. I took a look at Allison Pung. I believe she was 17 and generally a good student. She was just struggling in math and I believe it was science. And she didn't exactly want to receive extra help for it. I think it was tutoring for it. So the main thing that I took away from that assessment, or sorry, that assignment, was to look at the student holistically. And I think it's easy sometimes, especially teaching at the high school or the college level, where students come into your classroom and you only have them for one period, and all you can see is what they give to you in that classroom. Maybe they're tired, or they're not performing well, or they're not writing enough. Whatever it is, it's easy to just look at it from the face value and be like, well, what's wrong with you? What are you not doing right? But looking at the student from a holistic perspective allows you to think about, well, what's going on in their life? Like, what's happening at home? How are they doing in their other classes? And this pushes you to think about, well, the last point, collaboration. Who are other people that I can work with or network with to be able to help the student succeed? Are there other teachers that are experiencing the same thing? Are there counselors that they can, or guidance counselors that they can have access to? or is having a conversation with their parents even a possibility? Things like that. Looking at the student holistically pushes you to think of, oh my gosh, what is wrong with the student too? Well, how can I help the student move past this? My personal philosophy of work slash education, I think this kind of falls back on the last couple of things that we were talking about in what is my purpose as an educator, and really honing in on what I want or who I want to be as an educator. And first of all, at least for me as a Christian, I want to be God driven and ensure and that my values and my teaching philosophy lines up with what he wants. And that kind of goes into my second point of being purpose driven as well. By the end of the day, I am only human and there's only so much that I can do. And I need to be aware that I have to come to terms with what I am actually capable of. And some of that is just placing in God's hands and being like, Lord, this is what I have and this is what I can give to my class. And this is what I'm going to be for them during this semester. Can you please take over and do the rest? But also, it allows me to eliminate any other distractions that, while they might be good, they're not like essential for who I am or where I'm at in that stage. And then lastly, my personality assessment. This was fun to do. I believe I ended up as an ENTJ. Loved doing the Myers-Briggs test, especially now, as a little bit older. It was just interesting to see what my personality type was. And especially in perspective of leadership, it was cool because I am a natural leader. I have natural leadership tendencies, which is great for the classroom. However, I can also be blunt and honest, and I have noticed that as well. Sometimes when I'm giving correction or I am um even in just like giving encouragement, sometimes that's hard for it to like come naturally to me. I want to point out what's wrong and fix it because I want things to be at a certain standard. And that goes into like expectations. I have high expectations for myself and I want things to function at a very efficient level, but sometimes that causes me to put that on other people, and I get frustrated with other people when they don't perform at that same level. And so it's just a good reminder for me to be self aware of who I am and what I expect from other people, as well as what I expect from myself, and learn how to monitor that. I'm also intrinsically motivated, which is fantastic because sometimes this world and life can be a little bit discouraging. So the intrinsic motivations keep me going when I don't feel like going. Conclusion. All of this kind of amounts to that character shines through our teaching, and it might be easy to try to fall into like, oh, I'm going to be the best teacher and I'm going to be able to put up this front. I'm going to be able to be this person for my students. But by the end of the day, your character is going to shine through. Who you are will come forth, and your students and your coworkers, the people around you, are going to be able to tell what kind of person you are in your teaching just because you can't hide it. I mean, you is who you are. And so the self awareness of, well, what are my values? What are my morals? What is my personality? Who are people that have inspired me? What are goals that I'm working towards? What is my purpose? All of these things are so important to be aware of because, I mean, they shape who you are as an educator, and it's just good to be aware of them. So that concludes my presentation for our philosophy of education. Thank you so much for listening and for being our professor this semester. I really learned a lot from this course. So thank you.